Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Hour 2 of Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on this Monday, the 21st day of May, 2018, along with the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame honored Phil Kornblut.
Thank you.
And Professor Tom Hayes. I'm Will Pelagic.
You know, Justin Rowe is batting .362.
Yeah. How many games?
He's fourth in the league in batting.
How many games?
He can't make all conference second team.
How many games did he play?
He played enough. I mean, he took over about a third of the way through the season. I can look this up for you real quick. How
many games did he play? If it's over 45, I think you have a choice. I think you have a beef.
An argument there?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Justin Rowe. Let's see here.
As we vamp.
Yeah.
ACC tournament gets underway at the Durham Bulls Athletic
48 games.
46 side was right around that. So
he's actually batting I was looking at some old stats. He's batting 340 in 48 games.
So good.
He hit 340, 5 homers, 20 RBIs, committed 4 errors. Did not steal a base.
We're speaking in reference to the SEC baseball end of season honors, which shut out South Carolina in the rankings. No first, second, or third team honorees or freshman honorees, with all the freshman pitching that South Carolina had. Chapman and Majinski and some of the other guys on that roster, Sawyer Bridge. I mean, they get left out there from that. So again, it's an odd situation, but as we know, the SEC baseball hierarchy, if you will, the SEC sometimes lets out or leaves out intentionally some of the schools outside of the state of Alabama just because they just like to do that in that conference office.
Well, Alabama left themselves.
Exactly. Alabama's going to be sitting.
Yeah.
It's been a while since Alabama and Auburn were relevant in baseball at the same time. Yeah, I can remember years ago when they were good and going to Hoover for that tournament. My goodness, you couldn't get a seat in the place because the fans were so much behind their teams. But Auburn will be there for a little while. We'll see what they can do, but no Alabama once again.
Pool play begins in the ACC tournament on Tuesday. Clemson in a pool with Miami and Notre Dame. They're placed opposite of Pool C, which includes NC State, Florida State, and Virginia. There was some consternation late on Sunday and Saturday when they announced the pools. With the way that the tiebreaker went with Virginia and Notre Dame, they treated Clemson and North Carolina as one entity, and because they were tied, they didn't want to use both of them as the tiebreak for Notre Dame and Virginia. Is that the way you caught it? Because it looked like some of the tie breaks that Notre Dame would have actually been ahead of Virginia, but there was some sort of interpretation that I guess because Clemson and North Carolina were tied and one of the two teams in a tie break hadn't played one of the two, they went to the next team that they had both played, which ended up being, I believe, NC State, and that's how Virginia got the tie break ahead of it was Duke rather, and that's how Notre Dame.
Here's the tiebreak. If I were Notre Dame, here's the complaint I would have. Okay, I'm in the same pool with Clemson, and you're making me play a game the day before Clemson does.
Yes.
So I've got to use X amount of pitching in that first game to face a team and play another pool team the next day who's going to be totally rested. That's not fair. That's not fair. And they used to have 4 teams in a pool.
Right.
I think it was last year they changed to this 3-team in a pool format and went to more pools.
They're the only team that has to play back-to-back the first 2 days at number 11 seed.
Well, that's what you get for
being number 11.
Having your football.
Pitt has to as well. Pitt has to play the first game, and then they have to play the final game against North Carolina.
Because we let you keep your football independent, we're going to attack.
I mean, we have laughed about this format for years. I think they're the only conference in the country that does this.
Yes.
The SEC models theirs for after Omaha, except for the single elimination first day. And the ACC did this when they did it because they wanted to do 2 things. They wanted to give 3 things. They wanted to give the teams an opportunity to set their pitching. They wanted to give fans an opportunity to plan ahead to know exactly when their teams are playing. And they wanted to give teams who might be on that bubble a chance to play an extra game. Because, if it's double elimination, you lose 2 games, you're done. Here, you're guaranteed 3 games.
2 games.
Aren't you guaranteed 3 games?
There's only 3 teams in a pool.
That's right. I'm thinking about the old format. Then scratch that last thought. The other 2, the other thoughts were relevant.
The thoughts apply.
The last thought doesn't apply.
That's hear from the head coach of the Clemson Tigers, Monty Lee. He talked before Clemson got themselves underway and talked about the fact that he believes this team's got some good vibes around them right now.
We've got a lot of good vibes going on, in the program right now and with the team this year. Momentum, quite frankly, is always that day starting pitcher. So momentum to me is, I don't know if I would say it's overrated, but it's always going to be dictated by your starting pitcher. So we've got to get off to good starts on the mound every game. We've got to swing the bats well. We've got to have a certain level of heightened awareness and a sense of urgency. And when we get runners in scoring position, we got to find ways to get runners in, and we got to battle with 2 strikes and move runners. We got to do the little things. I think that's the big key when you're playing tournament baseball and you're playing in the postseason, is you got to be able to do the little things in the game.
How is Hennessy's arm? Will that play at all into your decision?
Yeah, it definitely will. But Jacob's ready. He's ready to go. I think he threw. He's been playing catch. We gave him 7 days off, which was recommended by our training staff, just to give him time to recover. He feels good. But we're going to use him however we feel like we need to use him. If we need to pitch him out of the bullpen, we'll pitch him out of the pen. And if we feel like we need to start him, then we'll start him. The great thing is he can do either. He has experiences in both. But he feels good, and he will be ready to go.
Would you feel inclined, though, to try to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday if everyone's feeling well? In other words, Hennessy for the first game, Crawford for the second. I mean, is that a big part of the conversation? A big part of the conversation, and I think one thing that everybody needs to be aware of is when you play the series the week before, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, now we're jumping up and we're playing Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Okay, we can't take a guy that throws on Saturday and pitch him Wednesday. We can't take a guy that throws Friday and pitch him Wednesday. Like, we're not going to do that to a pitcher. We are not going to pitch a guy on short rest. So the biggest things that we have to consider is who is our best available arm who has adequate rest. What is our best available guy to pitch game 1, which is Wednesday, with adequate rest? Strider threw on Thursday. He would be available and is an option. Hennessy will be available. Matt Clark would be available, who had a good start against Kennesaw State. So we're going to look at all of those options and try to determine what we feel like is the best scenario for us to win the ball game.
What about Burden and Meredith?
We do not think that Kier is going to be ready. We don't, Kier, I would anticipate being out for the ACC tournament. Bird should be ready. He's going to be a little bit limited, but hopefully we can continue to get him more and more healthy throughout the week. So, if you see him jogging the first when he hits a ground ball, that's because I've told him to do that. So, when people, we like guys to run balls out, but we also want to keep our guys on the field. So, he needs to be careful because it's been a nagging injury pretty much for more than half the year. But we want to do everything we can to keep Bird in our lineup.
Does this team deserve a national seed?
Well, we tied for the lead in the ACC in regular season wins with 22. We were 43-13, which was the best in all Power 5 schools in the country. There's 295 Division I schools. Tennessee Tech won more games than us and nobody else. There's not a Power 5 school in the country that won more regular season games than Clemson. So if you value what a team does in the regular season, then we most certainly should be a national seed.
Clemson doesn't play till Wednesday at 3 against Notre Dame, and then they play Thursday at 7 against Miami. Theoretically, they can go with Hennessy right off the bat if he's as ready as Monty Lee says he is. And they can go basically in that order: Hennessy, Crawford, Higginbotham, and then maybe Strider in the finale and with all hands on deck. Yeah,
I think so. I think you nailed it there, and that sounds like how they would probably work this thing out. I mean, things set up nicely for Clemson. This is, well, of course, Miami took 2 out of 3 from Clemson at Doug Kingsmore, if I remember correctly. And they played better baseball the latter part of the season. Remember, they were struggling early on. They kind of kick-started thing with that series in at Clemson. But, I mean, look, you don't play until Wednesday. All you got to do is win those 2 games, Wednesday, Thursday. You're off on Friday. And then the weekend, you got a chance to get back to the championship game there.
We'll continue talking about the big transfer from Clemson football, Hunter Johnson, no longer a Tiger.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
800-956-7266 is the phone number. We'll take your phone calls on any of our topics today. Carolina baseball, Clemson baseball, the transfer of Hunter Johnson, and also about our poll question, which you can find at SportsTalkSC.com. How far do you think the Clemson baseball team will advance in the NCAA tournament? 41% of you who were at SportsTalkSC.com believe that Super Regional is the final destination for Clemson. 26% of you believe they'll get to the College World Series in Omaha, and 32% believe that they will be in the regional round eliminated.
Yeah, our previous poll question was Asia Wilson is going to have a statue erected in her honor, justifiably so. In fact, she had her pro debut last night, had a double-double and a loss. So who else should USC honor with a statue? And had a lot of people voting on this one. 28% said Ray Tanner. 24.5% said Frank McGuire. I should have put Dawn Staley on that list, so I apologize for that. Don't know what I was thinking. Probably should have put Boo Major on there. She's won national championship. Curtis Fry's won national championship. Should have put them on there. Some of the write-ins, Steve Wadiak, John Roach, Marcus Lattimore.
Well, I think the one thing we could even say is that this comes down to the fact that South Carolina needs to do a better job of honoring its past.
Yeah. Somebody wrote in Deshaun Watson, Ron Bass, Chad Holbrook, John Roach, Frank McGuire. Cocky's got a statue.
Deshaun Watson to get a statue at South Carolina?
Only if he has number 7 draped on his back.
That's funny. 800-956.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the wrong quarterback.
800-956-7266. Who is first on our list here? As we, I need the name of the person who is calling us right now. Oh, it's Ben in Catawba?
Yep.
Oh, Rex. Ben in Catawba is first. Go ahead, Ben. What's up?
No, it's Rex.
Oh, Rex. What's up? How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. What's up?
I've been listening to you for 33 years. When I first started a job, I listened to you. And at the time, it was a statewide talk show. I've been listening for the first, except for 4 minutes. All you discussed is Clemson.
We just discussed.
All you talk about there. You don't.
We've been discussing South Carolina baseball. We've been talking South Carolina baseball.
Okay, hey, Will, why do you talk with a Clemson accent?
What's a Clemson accent? What are you talking about?
New Jersey accent.
I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of that.
Hey,
Rex.
No, Rex. This Rex or Ben?
Yeah.
This is Rex?
Rex.
Look, come on, man. Listen, if you listen to the show, we spent the first half hour talking about a mixture of Carolina and Clemson baseball and Chris Silva. We ran an interview, a 4-minute interview with Mark Kingston. We did recruiting that included plenty of Gamecock information.
I got a segment in here. We're going to talk about the South Carolina Gamecock Super Regional appearance.
We talked in details about the Gamecocks and their projection for the NCAA tournament and where they might be headed.
I listen to you every night. It's always Clemson.
No.
I mean, Phil, you wore an orange shirt to a South Carolina.
It was peach.
What is a Clemson accent?
Do you have a peach shirt in your wardrobe?
Clemson. That's all you got.
What is a Clemson accent? I've no idea. They sound just like they're from South Carolina.
That's where all the students are from.
I think he's just pulling your chain.
Get out of here. That's stupid. Come on. Get out of here. That's dumb. I've never heard of that before. Clemson accent. It's from New Jersey. They got a lot of New Jersey people up there. Is that what that is?
They have more Jerseyites at Carolina than they do Clemson. I would say.
I drive around Columbia. All I see are New York Yankee and New York Giants stickers.
I think Rex has an agenda tonight.
I think he's just playing. Thank you for the call. I think you're funning with us.
Here's your boy Bulldog Bert, who is calling from Saluda, and I'm sure he has an agenda that is skewed towards.
You think Bulldog Bert has an agenda?
What's up, Bert? How are you?
Good evening, everybody. The reason I was calling tonight, and it's not about Georgia.
That's a first.
Even though we are good. The reason I was calling is, are y'all aware of any situation with the high school league as far as that they might keep the realignment for the next 2 years as is. In other words, if you're classified like we're in 2A, we'd be in the same region the next 2 years as we have been in the last 2 years.
I think there's a lawsuit out there related to what you're asking about. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you was aware of it. I've asked other people, and they weren't aware of it.
Yeah, I saw something glancing through the internet last night about a lawsuit. Now, I don't know the details, and I'm quickly looking through Google here to see if something jumps up. I see a headline here that says, rumor has it the high school league is being sued about the alignment, blah, blah, blah. So I'm trying to find a legitimate story about it, and I don't see anything at my fingertips.
Right.
But it may be happening.
There's really nothing out about it. I told people that told me, I said, well, I know somebody, if anybody knows anything about high school sports, it'd be Phil Kornbluth. And I was going to call you tonight and ask you on the air if you had heard any updated information on the story, because nobody seemed to know anything about it that I talked to.
Well, let me say this. I appreciate the comment, but there are people that know more. I would, David Shelton, Jim Baxter, guys like that. I would certainly bow to their knowledge. And I'm looking at a text here. I'm sorry. I'm looking at not a tweet, but a post from Jim. Hearing injunction being filed. This was yesterday. He said, remember me saying an injunction may be filed to stop realignment. Looks like it may be coming as soon as this week out of Woodruff. If upheld, will force schools to remain in the 16 through 18 alignment regions. So that's from Jim Baxter from SC Varsity. And so apparently there is something going on to try to hold it like it is or like it has been. Well, who do you know who's complaining? Who is I guess Woodruff does it. If it's coming out of Woodruff, they don't want to be moved up to 4A. Is that what it would be? I'd have to check to see what the alignment plan is.
Yeah, and it was unfair because of the way it was held and done, And another thing that's unfair, and I talked to you about it, you probably don't remember it, but we're in Saluda is in the was in the class 3 2A. Now we've been moved to class 2. We're going to probably move back to class 3 2A. But the Abbeville region, and I'm just saying Abbeville because they usually win their region every year because of the legacy down there. There's nothing wrong with that. But the high school league meets at Myrtle Beach and predetermines the brackets. They determine where the playoff of the upper state championship games hosted. Abbeville has hosted that game the last 3 years, and I know the first year didn't have nothing to do with it because realignment only happens every 2 years. But the Region 3, Class 2A, was totally left out of possibly hosting the upper state championship and was disenfranchised because of that. And I blame it on the high school league. They can say it's all up to the coaches, but it's a political thing down at Myrtle Beach. And it's not fair to the towns. It's not fair to the high schools that play in this thing to be allowed to not at least have an opportunity to host a upper state championship because it's predetermined.
Yeah, it's been that way as long as I can remember. You know who I blame it on, Bulldog Bert? I blame it on Mark Richt.
Yeah.
I think Mark Richt did it.
The scapegoat.
I think he did it. I think he did it because it's just something he wanted to do to the state of South Carolina.
I do want to dispute the fact that we haven't talked enough about anything. We've talked so many different
things.
No,
he was just being foolish.
Yeah, I think he's pulling your leg.
Yeah,
he was pulling
the Clemson accent thing is.
Oh, don't let it bother you. There's nothing wrong with the Clemson accent.
I don't think it exists. I think it's a dumb fallacy that the garnet-colored people here in the state try to There's enough people from the north to
If you go up to Pickens County enough, you'll detect a little bit of a twang up there. But got a little something.
But not from Jersey.
Well,
that's something that Clemson people or that Carolina people try to say about Clemson and say that it's all transplants from the Northeast. Plenty of transplants from the Northeast and the Midlands too, pal. Just saying.
You mean the upstate?
No, I'm saying there's plenty here in the Midlands as well.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of Yankees who go to USC.
Exactly.
Because it's not too far away, and the tuition for them usually hasn't
And
been
the
too
state-
bad.
And it's close to the beach
And
too.
the state doesn't mind their out-of-state money either.
Their money's good here too, guys. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We have yet to mention the South Carolina Gamecock softball team.
Gamecocks.
Amazing performance over the weekend after losing the first game on Saturday to Liberty. They come back and win 3 games in 2 days, one over Hofstra and then the last 2 over Liberty on Sunday to come out of the losers bracket and then win and go to the Super Regionals for the first time since 2007. Ben is calling from Charlotte, 800-956-7266, wanting to give the Gamecock ladies some love. Hello, Ben.
Well, you stole my line. I was going to say, that
The USA women's softball team, they was preseason pick number 12. And they finished the season playing Florida for the SEC championship game. Then they did what this weekend. So what you just said is the first comment of the USC women's softball accomplishments for the year. So,
what do you think?
You beat me to the punch.
What do you think about them?
Well, what do I think about them? Well, you have to look at Walt Beverly Smith when she inherited that program 6 or 7 years ago. Let's call it like it is. Joyce Compton left that program in shambles, and it's taken her this long to get that program back to being relevant. And that's what happens at these schools when they let these coaches stay too long. The program goes down in schools like Florida and Auburn. They just keep on going and recruiting, and it takes a long time to catch up. So what she's done is incredible because she's really had her back up against the wall. But thanks to Ray Tanner and the university for supporting her and giving her the resources, she's got the program back to being relevant. So you have to tip your hat to her because nobody even picked them to go this far. The regional they was in this weekend, they had more teams with 40 wins than any other regional in the country.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you could even look at some of the star power that was there. Liberty is coached by the former USA softball standout, Dr. Dot Richardson, who widely considered one of the best softball players to ever play, and she's tried to rebuild that program at Liberty over the last couple of years. Hofstra has been in the NCAA tournament for a while, so they're no stranger to it as well. They took Missouri to the brink a couple of years ago, almost eliminated them. But from that standpoint, South Carolina down to its final out on Saturday night to come back from that, come off the mat with a walk-off home run, and then to come back and win on Sunday, those two games, shutting out Liberty in both, speaks to the mental fortitude of Bev Smith's team.
And then again, why hit on Joyce Compton? See, what happened was USC was behind in facilities. Is a key to why her recruiting slowed down because everybody going ahead of her with the facilities.
I am just impressed by this man's knowledge of college softball.
He used to do college softball.
No, you.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I used to do college softball.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling you.
It's wonderful.
I used to do college softball.
Let's review the year in USC women's athletics. Women's soccer.
Yes.
Excellent. Went to the Final Four or Elite Eight? They went deep.
Either the Elite Eight or last four, one of the two.
Yeah, Final Four.
No, actually, no, they did go to the final first time. That's right. They went to the Final Four.
Women's basketball.
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16 coming off a national championship.
Or Elite Eight, rather. Elite 8.
Elite 8.
16 win. Losing the Elite 8.
Volleyball makes the final tournament.
Yes.
Beach volleyball, final tournament. Softball's going to a super regional. Women's tennis made it to which round? Second round?
Something like that.
Second round?
Yeah.
They have a very solid women's athletic program over at USC, something the men can look up to and be proud of.
It's weird because so much of the attention.
You missed my little shot there.
No, but here's the shot I can give to you. Maybe it's because not enough people pay attention to them. They play well.
And the other part of this is more people are paying attention to softball now. ESPN deploys kind of resources for softball like they do for baseball now. And, they send their A crew to the SEC tournament.
Do people really watch?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Seriously.
Yes. Absolutely.
Beyond parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles.
Especially at the College World Series.
I mean, do you sit down and watch softball?
Absolutely.
Yes.
You sit down and actually watch.
Watched every game this week. I watched every game this weekend.
Okay. That's all I need to know.
What?
I'm just saying.
There's nothing else going on.
Exactly. That's kind of why it's on television.
Have you noticed the people in the stands, Corn?
They had a full stands this weekend at Beckham Field.
The thing about the game of softball is everything is right on top of you.
Softball is played by overweight white men in their mid-50s and 60s with a beer keg waiting for them rounding third.
Have you seen how fast some of those?
No, they're good athletes. I watched a little bit of it yesterday.
And how close they are. Everything
during a thunderstorm that almost blew my house down.
And here's something that softball can take a piece, or baseball can take a piece out of this from softball. their game moves at a faster pace than baseball does. They have a pitch clock that is stuck to.
Mm-hmm.
They get every game in with about a 2-hour window. They only play 7 innings, and it's fast paced, it's fast moving. There's always action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and typically it's low scoring, right? Because it's so hard to hit the pitch.
Absolutely,
off a good pitcher. You can't hardly make contact.
And they do change speed.
But then again, the ball gets to the infielder, and the baselines are so short.
It's on top of it.
You gotta get rid of it quickly.
And throw. It's a much different skill set. And I'll tell you this. It's more challenging to call than baseball because of the fact that, again, the ball is so quickly on the fielders. Sticking with South Carolina.
More Gamecocks? You talking more Gamecocks?
More Gamecocks. I do want to know more Gamecocks.
More Gamecocks.
Don't overcompensate now.
Chris Silva is going to come back this year, by the way, in case you missed it earlier in the show. We actually talked about this, but we'll talk about it some more because apparently we're not talking enough Gamecocks. But Chris Silva is coming back to the Gamecock basketball team, Gamecocks. And now that at least solidifies one of the 2 positions in doubt for Frank Martin's roster this season. Does this influence, in your mind, Brian Bowen at all?
Until the NCAA gets their act together, because I said before
you can't bank on that.
No,
though.
but I was thinking my thinking was the kid wanted to play 1 year college basketball, so not only he could test his skills, but also he could tell by his body shape and his growth pattern that he needs a year in the weight room.
There must be interest, though, from the NBA. His second game there was much better than his first at the Combine, and he had a lot of interviews with NBA people.
Right.
So there must be some interest.
Because
now, they might be
growth.
telling him
they like his upside,
his potential. Now, are they telling him go back to school? Are they telling him to go to Europe for a year? Are they telling him to go to the G League? I don't know. We weren't privy to those conversations, but something's got to be done here in the next 10 days because the deadline for withdrawing is coming up quickly.
I think probably they've looked at him and how large he has some big feet, I understand, which tells you he hadn't stopped growing. So this guy could be a 6'10" wing guy by the time he's through. And they're probably telling him, look, you need to work on your defense and your shot, because if you could extend that shot out to 3-point range, you would be great on the wing, a small forward at the NBA level.
Here's the other thing. He's only 19.
That's the key.
But he hasn't played in a game.
That's the thing. I'm saying he's only
well over a year.
He's only 19. The last game that he played was in high school.
So you look at the Gamecocks roster with Silva coming back now. That certainly is good news. So you got 3 seniors, Silva, Gravitt, and Campbell, the transfer.
Yes.
Okay. And you got a junior in Coetzer. You got 3 sophomores in Cud, Hasse, and Minaya. Potentially a redshirt freshman in Bowen, and then 3 commitments in Kuznard, Moss, and Frank. They're hoping to add Burns to the list. Okay, that would give them a big-bodied, talented left-handed post player if they can get him, either South Carolina or Tennessee. But again, that's going to be mid-June before he makes a final decision publicly. And then they've got this 6'6" big guard coming in from Canada for a visit. Outside of that, I don't know of anybody else that they're dealing with right now.
No, the thing about it is Frank Martin has always said he likes length. He does it all. He's not saying always height, but he likes guys with long arms that can play in the passing lanes. And that's how they got to the Final Four. When you had PJ Dozier in there and Sindarius Thornwell, those long arms just in the passing lanes, they got a lot of deflections when they were on defense.
Guys, I don't think we're talking about Clemson enough.
Oh, we're not?
I think we might have to talk about Clemson next.
We're going to put you on a pitch clock.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Yeah, we were talking about this during the break. You know, even at a basketball school, you could basically fall on the axe, if you will, if football is not good enough. Kansas firing its athletic director, Shayan Zenger, after they won 12 games during his tenure there, gave him 2 opportunities to try and fix things. But it's a cautionary tale to basketball schools. Your football goes to hell in a handbasket.
Oh, you left something out.
What's that?
12 games in 8 years.
Yes. 12 games in 8 years.
Speaking of football, let's talk football.
Yes, Athlon's
Athlon has put out its preseason top 25, and it's pretty much what it's been the last several years. Are we getting tired of this Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma thing? Georgia's kind of sticking its nose in there. So they've got Alabama preseason number 1, Clemson number 2, then Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan at 5. I don't get that.
Why?
Yeah.
The team that lost to South Carolina in the Outback Bowl is number 5 in the nation. Not to say anything bad about South Carolina, but I mean, come on.
A big
jump. You lose your bowl game, you shouldn't be in the top 5 unless you lose in the playoff.
That's because Shea Patterson may be looked upon as good as Clemson's freshman quarterback.
Well, I was not impressed with Michigan's quarterback by any means in the bowl game.
Well, you know.
But that'll be different. Yeah. Miami 6, Auburn 7, Washington 8, Wisconsin 9, Oklahoma 10, Penn State 11, Michigan State 12. Then it's Florida State, Mississippi State, Notre Dame 15. Rest of the way, Virginia Tech, Florida, Stanford, Boise, Texas at 20, Southern Cal 21, West Virginia 22, Oregon 23, TCU 24, and Texas A&M 25. You know, anybody think the Gamecocks should be in that top 25?
Not yet.
I think if they beat Georgia, they deserve to be in it.
Yeah.
I was thinking too, just on the Shea Patterson thing, maybe Brian Bowen can transfer to North Carolina and apply for immediate eligibility. Maybe that way he can get himself on the NCAA's good list.
Hey, also they rank the quarterbacks.
I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of shots at North Carolina. I'm trying to placate a little too much here.
They rank the quarterbacks.
That's part of their Clemson
1
accent.
through 130. Who do you think they rank as the number 1 quarterback in the country? Athlon.
Tua Tagovailoa.
He's 2.
You got to be kidding.
Trevor,
he's 2.
Don't tell me Trevor Lawrence is
He's
first.
ranked 2. No, Will Greer is first.
Really?
Will Greer, West Virginia, formerly Florida.
Yeah. No, I know.
But you know what? That could have changed history. If Will Greer hadn't had his problems at Florida with Muschamp there, it might have changed history. McSorley is 3rd. Tate from Arizona is 4th.
I don't like any of those guys.
Drew Lock is 6th.
I don't like him either.
From Missouri. Jake Fromm is 11th.
Shut up.
Ryan Finley is 13. Jake Bentley is the 14th ranked quarterback in the country.
This is what I don't like about Drew Lock. His offensive line is a sieve.
Oh, well, that's not his problem.
Well, if you have to throw the football.
Did you hear me?
What'd you say?
Jake Bentley is 14th.
That's not bad.
In the country. Shea Patterson is 15th. Brent Stockstill, Rick's son at Middle Tennessee, is number 18. Kelly Bryant is the number 20 quarterback in the country.
Where's Trevor?
By these people. I don't guess he's ranked because he hadn't played a college game.
Oh, you know, he was.
I guess you at least have to play in a game.
He was a Heisman Trophy. He was a Heisman Trophy hopeful.
Yes, he was.
He's a Heisman from somebody. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Jack is calling from Lake Bowen. Jack, you're on Sports Talk. What's up?
Hey, I'm listening to you a little bit there, and Will, you know, I think I'm pretty intelligent. I've got a college degree from the University of South Carolina. I disagree with you about saying that you shouldn't have a question about Belk. I mean, why would you even be on that program if we didn't have a question, especially this question?
What do you mean?
Hold on. I have never heard of a transfer at attorney. Now, if you have, please tell me, and I'm going to hang up and listen. Thank you.
Never heard of a transfer having an attorney. I think that's probably more prevalent than you know.
Yes.
Because these situations can become very complex because of the rules, and especially when a school is blocking you and you want to go to a particular place and they won't let you, they'll bring in an attorney.
The attorney has done a lot more, like you said, because of the fact that in case you get resistance from wanting a release, the attorney basically represents you, because so much of this brings emotion. He acts as a third party for an impartial third party from that particular perspective.
Now, in this particular case, according to what the young man and the coach and the attorney said, he wanted someone. This was a guy that he knew. He has a law office in the Chester, up in that area, Chester, Richburg, Louisville area. And they knew this guy, and they wanted somebody. He wanted somebody to help him with the rules, is what he said. Because he hadn't put a whole lot of thought in this thing before, and he said he wasn't familiar with the process and with the various rules about it, and he wanted somebody to help him, I guess, just write up his release and help identify for him what he can and cannot do, explain what the rules are. If there's anything more to it, I mean, there's no litigation or anything like that going on that we know of. If there's anything else to it, then everybody's keeping it hush hush, because I've heard nothing else that would be valid in this particular case.
This is the only thing that'll change my opinion, and this is something Pro and I were talking about earlier, because when all of the preliminary information we got was that there were family reasons why he wanted to leave Clemson and that he wanted to be closer to home. How much closer to home is Tennessee? And why is he looking at Tennessee?
Well, I mean, Tennessee from there, that's no closer than Clemson. Right. That's no closer than Clemson.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But you know what? We didn't say, I mean, Tennessee contacted him. Schools are going to contact you. Now, is he considering going to Tennessee? He didn't say that. He just said that he'd heard from Tennessee, and he'd heard from South Carolina, and he'd heard from South Carolina compliance, and he was going to talk with his family and think about it and decide what's going to be the best move next for him. If it's an absolute that he wants to stay in a Power 5 situation and be closest to home, then it's clearly South Carolina. And if that's the reason for doing it, then it's a cut and dry case.
That would make – I mean, I don't want to say Josh Belk should go to South Carolina or else, but I'm going to say that the tenor of the story and the amount of – I don't want to use the word sympathy, but the feeling about the story changes if he ends up anywhere other than South Carolina. And then I think Dabo and Clemson fans would kind of feel a tad chapped, and also South Carolina fans would feel chapped as well.
Yeah, I think so, but I think it's just
not to give anything against the young man. The young man can go where he wants.
No, yeah.
But the fact, I mean, I don't want to use the word exploiting, but if you use a family situation just to get out of Clemson, to give the impression that you were going to come to go home, and then you end up going somewhere else, that to me is kind of shady.
It's 222 miles from Chester to Knoxville.
Okay.
It's about 55 from there to here.
Well, you got to, if you just come straight down the interstate, you got to go off the interstate a little bit too. But I get your point. It's an hour. It's about an hour from Richburg, Chester to Columbia.
I just get the feeling this is another one of those life lessons for a young man to be an adult. If you didn't want to be there, don't come up with an excuse. Just say, well,
if it's, I don't want to if it's not the truth, then this is a well put together
farce
scheme involving him, his coach, and his attorney, because they're all saying the same thing. They all get together and collaborate on this thing and say, okay, this is a story we're going to tell people.
Get in cahoots.
I mean, I give people more credit than that. At least I try to, and I believe the people who will talk to the media publicly and go on the record with their names. It's one thing when somebody will say something without allowing you to identify them. They put their name to it. You kind of believe they're telling the truth, because you don't want your name attached to a lie. So, listen, the coach is an honorable man. Kid's a kid. The attorney's an attorney.
I'm not saying anything different. I'm just saying if he ends up somewhere else, looks a little weird.
Well, you're right about that, unless something happens and something didn't feel right for him at South Carolina if that time came and he decided to try something else. But you're right. If he doesn't end up at South Carolina, it will open a lot of eyes.
A Monday show that was chock full. We'll try to do the same thing for you on Tuesday when Corn is in Hoover.
Go Celtics.